Salutations, my name is Summer and this is Cozy Reading with Quaker Cats, and I want to do a video on all the questions you guys gave me. Oh, sorry. Yeah, all the wonderful questions. I'm going to try to give you guys some answers today. There's so many that I'm going to leave the cat questions for last, or it might take so long that I'm just going to do a second video on the cat questions. So, but yeah, thank you so much for all the questions and for all the kind words and congratulations. So, okay, let me get started here. And I just want to show you something real quick. Well, you know Sylvie, she keeps wanting to get up here, but over here, Finchurch and Randall are sleeping together. And then over here, sorry, Mayfair is sitting on the heater. And so Sylvie is underneath here wanting to cause trouble. Okay, so the first question. To the Lit House. Also, I love your channel. I'm not sure what your name is. So you might not want to tell. That's another thing. Some people don't want to give their names, but anyway. Are there any particular books that got you reading? Yes. My mom always read to me growing up. So I was always reading, and my mom was a reader, my sister and brother. So, but the book that actually got me to be absolutely the crazy bookworm that I am was when I was around 9 years old. I would sneak in my sister's closet and read her V.C. Andrews books. So those were, once I found them, it was all over. And I love John Saul, Stephen King, and then I had Edgar Allan Poe in like 5th or 6th grade that I found, and Sappho's poetry. So another book I want to share that I found this book, I got it on my birthday, and it was April 13th, 1995 is when I bought this book. Anyway, Pleasure in the Word. It is a book of love poetry, and it's just beautiful. If you like poetry, you might like this. Okay. Noah, everyone who reads it must converse. He asked me 2 questions. My favorite poet? Today I'd say Teasdale, Sarah Teasdale. It's hard to say a favorite poet when I love poetry from so many different poets. But today I'm going to say Sarah Teasdale. My favorite sweet? I love cake. I love all sweet. I mean, honestly, when I told my mom this question, she's like, what sweet do you not like? But I'm going to say my 2 favorites are, and I grew up where my grandma and mom made everything homemade. So German chocolate cake, or we have a French layer cake that has been in our family since the 1900s. And it was always a wedding cake for all of us. So it has like pineapple and walnuts caramelized with raisins, and it's a 2-layer white cake with white icing, and it's amazing. Okay, self-righteousness. Okay, the neat thing, I think her name's Martha Jones, and the cool thing is she says salutations too, and I always want to say, did you love Charlotte's Web? You know, anyway, she asked, have you ever bought a book because its cover art induced love at first sight feelings? And if so, which books? So, yeah, of course. But when I was picking out, because I have so many that I've bought because of this, I noticed there's a theme happening. So Wilding by Isabella Tree, I have not read this yet. None of these, I have not read any of these. These were, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. I gotta have it. And the inside has art too, but yeah. And then Tim Winton's Open Swimming, in Open Swimmer, and The Turning. I love. My lighting's not very good. It's getting dark and it's like 3:30. But I love those. Oh, I bought this book and I haven't taken the sticker off of it, but I bought this book because of the title. I can't get the sticker off right now. Sleeping Naked is Green by Vanessa Farquhar's son. Yeah, that is a title cover by. And then we have The Outrun by Amy Liptrot and A House in the Sky by Amanda Lindhout and Sarah Corbett. Anyway, there's a theme going of when I see a book that I love. Okay. Karen Weatherald, and I love Karen. I wish she had a channel. Anyway, she asked me, do you have one favorite book of all time? And that's hard to say because, I mean, there's just so many wonderful books I've been reading for so long. But today I'm going to say, which I could say something different tomorrow, is Drawing in the Dust by Zoe Klein. And I need to do a reread of this year. But I feel like this book gave me, even though it's not a perfect book, it gave me everything I wanted. So, and then she also asked me, do you ever give up on books partway through, or do you have to finish them all? As I get older, I do not feel like I have to finish everything. But I have this, where's Randall? I have this shelf. That white shelf is full of books that I've started and I've set aside. So I don't DNF too much. I more set aside for when I'm in the mood for them and give them another try. Okay, Courtney Ferreter, what are the best and worst booktube recommendation books you've read so far? So what I want to say, the best, which, you know, there are a couple, but the best one that is a recent one was recommended by Nathan Fong, Rules of Civility by Armor Towles. Towles? I always want to say Armor. I think it's Amor Towles. Tolls. I don't know. I absolutely love this. And he saw it on, which I did too, but I didn't, seeing it on Olive's channel, A Book Olive, I didn't want to read it. But he had recommended it, and so I read it, and I absolutely loved it. So I'd say that's the best. The worst, I don't remember who recommended it because there was so many of you guys who love this, who still to this day love this book. But I wish I would have DNF'd it, and that's The Goldfinch. I got through this sucker really only because I had a friend who was reading it at the same time as me, so that kind of made it special. But I did not like the book at all, and I do not like Donna Tartt's writing. I did not like A Secret History either. The reason why I still own this book is because the person who had it before me put a four-leaf clover in it, and I have that memory of reading it at the same time as my friend read it. So that's why I've held on to it. Orada, I'm not sure if I pronounced your name right, or your channel name right. If you DNF, what was the last book you DNF'd and why? Okay, so I do DNF. Not often, but I definitely do. I'm going to say 3 books here. So I DNF'd Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James because I physically felt like I had to DNF that book. For me, which I know there's some booktubers I love who love that book, but for me, it was so unhealthy. I had a physical reaction. I mean, I felt like this dark, I don't even know. I felt bad every time I had to pick that book back up. And so I DNF'd it. And then I just DNF'd Joanne Fluke's latest 26 in the series of, I don't know if it was like, I was listening to a Christmas Cupcake Murder or something just because it was the same thing over and over again. And I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And then one that I didn't DNF, I went all the way through and read that book. And it's a short book, But I wish I would have DNF'd it because, and I know people love it, but it made me just, and I know books that make you angry can be wonderful, but just made me so angry. And that's The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. I struggled through that thing the whole way through. I was just so angry. And sometimes I feel like that's wasted energy, but anyway. So, Ariane, book zealots. Have you ever met an author face to face? And is there an author you'd like to meet? So I've met quite a lot of authors face to face. The latest one was Greg Iles, and he signed my book, Mississippi Blood, I want to say. And I got some books signed for a couple of my friends too. And he was so down to earth and wonderful. And I just had such a great experience with him. And also, Kira Cass, I saw her, it's 5 years ago now. And she was so much fun. She writes a young adult series. Oh, and I can't think of it right now. Because I gave it to my niece, Sativa, so I'm not for sure what it was called. I might think of it before this video is over, but anyway, Kira Cass, Greg Iles, Tabitha King. I love Tabitha King's books if you haven't read them. And she called Stephen King the Big Cheese. But there's other smaller ones that I have. It's just I don't have them unboxed because I have all my signed copies they're in a box that I haven't unboxed yet. Also, I have a signed copy of Anne Rice's book, Servant of the Bones, because I was supposed to go with my mom to see her, and I ended up having to work. And instead of calling in like I should have, I went to work, and so she got me a signed copy. So I didn't get to see Anne Rice, but I was 17 at the time, so it still would be nice to see Anne Rice. Anyway, who I wanted to see, I thought, sorry, I'm talking fast. I'm trying not to take up all you guys' time. Okay, so my dad died in 2016. And 2 weeks later was my birthday, which is April 13th. And I had found out that on April 13th of 2016, Stephen King was going to be in Dayton. And I thought I could drive. I mean, I don't drive interstate, but I could get there. And so I was so excited. I was set up. At this time, they were going to start selling tickets, and I was ready. So I was online. I had logged in, and it started. And within like 3 seconds, it said I was 500 and some in line. There was only like 100 tickets. There was no way I could ever go. But I thought it was kind of meant to be, like something good. But so my dream is still to see Stephen King, but it probably won't happen. Okay, Von Tersteller. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Which country would you most like to visit and why? So I'm a homebody. My sister has traveled all over the world, and my friend Whitney has traveled all over the world too. I mean, all over. But I always think of Cairo, Egypt, and I'm sure I'm just fantasizing it, but I just think it would be so beautiful to see the pyramids. And then England, I always think of England because I read I'm reading the classics, and I think, oh, it would be, and I read about King Henry VIII, and I think, oh, I would love to see these historical sites. But then I always think, Portugal would be so beautiful. I've seen so many pictures. So those are some places. Lisa Garrity, do you weed your books? How do you decide which books to get rid of? So yeah, I definitely weed books out. Also, I'd say I do get rid of books. I have a little library. I get rid of books I don't like, or I think I'll never read again. But most of the time, and I get rid of books that I love because I want someone that I know to read it. So I'll be like, here, read this book, even though I love it. I think, oh, I'll get another copy. And when there was library book sales all the time, it was easy to find another copy of a favorite book for like 50 cents or $1, but this year was harder. Also, you had said something about you had difficulty letting go of a book. In my experience, if it's difficult for me to let it go, I shouldn't. But I know you can only have probably so much space or so many books that you want. And so I understand sometimes you have to let books go, but there's been times when I've let a book go and then I've bought it again. And then I've let it go and I've bought it again. And it's like, just keep it. So the Codex Cantina. I'm not sure if this is Crypto or Una, but they ask, do you carve out time to read or does it come naturally for you? Do you carve out time to read or does it come naturally for how you dedicate time for reading? And do you find BookTube influencing your current choices for book selections? So I am a single lady with 4 cats and I'm an introvert. I live alone. So it is not, I naturally read every night when I get home from work. I get settled in and I read. Reading is so naturally, I don't have all of those, I don't want to say like families or distractions or partners or distractions or kids or whatever, but you know what I mean. I don't have that trying to take up time. So it naturally, I have plenty of time to read. And yeah, the second one for sure. So many, like whether it's a read along or somebody saying, I read this book and I loved it. And I'm thinking, oh, I have that book. Or they say, I'm going to get ready to read that book. And I'm thinking, oh, I have that book. I want to read that book the same time they are. So definitely. And I have a whole list. How many? I have 25 books that were recommended to me from people on BookTube. So I am definitely influenced by what I'm reading at this moment. So let's see. Kim, middle of the book march. And I knew if Kim left me a question, it would be something like this. She says, what is your favorite genre and your least favorite book in that genre? She's so funny. Okay. I try to block out books I don't like, Kim. So my favorite genre is historical fiction. My least favorite, I'll just say my least favorite books, if it has a Duke or a Highlander or a woman swooning on it, in my mind, I don't think that a book is historical fiction just because it was set at a certain time. I feel like it has to have something more. So I don't care for those. Now, I'm not saying I haven't liked books that are like that, but there's a large chance that I'm not going to like it if it's got a Duke or Highlander or something on it. Because I consider that romance, not historical fiction, but I guess it's historical romance. I'm not even sure. But yeah. So, Ami, 1649. What goals do you hope to accomplish in the coming year? Do you feel like you accomplished the goals you set for yourself last year? So I have that My Journey videos I'm going to be making. I made one to announce it and I haven't made any more yet because I'm hard on myself anyway. But I do have all of that going on. So yeah, I'm always trying to better myself and what I do, how it affects the world and other people around me. But this year, I mean, I hate to blame things on this. I call it Trump stress or Corona stress. I hate to blame that I didn't get to accomplish things that I set out for because of that. But I did move in March, and so I could be closer to my mom and work. So I feel like what I have done, it's enough. Sometimes it's just enough. And there's things that I set goals for that then don't work out for me, or I change my mind about. So, what were the questions again? What goals do you hope to accomplish in the coming year? Oh man, so many, but most of it has to do with trying to pay off like debt and stuff, and the healthy eating, everything that people I think normally do, and then learning about stuff. But anyway, I could have a whole video about that. And do I feel like accomplished the goals set last year? Not really, but I'm okay with it. So, very literary, Carrie. Do you have any favorite book quotes? Do you like complete silence while reading, or do you prefer music or something going on in the background? I prefer silence. I love silence. And my some favorite quotes. So I haven't read the Mammoth Hunters for a long time, and it's by Jean M. I always say Anal, but I think it's like Ul. It's Auel. But there's a quote that I have kept forever. They stared at each other, wanting each other, drawn to each other, but their silent shout of love went unheard in the roar of misunderstanding and the clatter of culturally ingrained beliefs. And then Oscar Wilde said, who being loved is poor. So there's two. Karen Evans, how does your faith shape you? And some of the books that have had the biggest impact on your life. So yeah, my faith, it's constantly telling me to better myself, to being Quaker. It's like, what are you doing that reflects, what actions or things you do reflects, how do I say this? I'm always trying to follow, when it comes to the environment, when it comes to, I think I should just do a video letting you guys know about unprogrammed Quakerism. There's a big difference between programmed and unprogrammed. So I think I'm going to do a video about that and get my thoughts together so I could explain it clearly instead of spend 20 minutes trying to explain it. But some books that I'm just going to do these really fast, okay? Sorry, Karen. If the Church Were Christian, Rediscovering the Values of Jesus by Philip Gulley. Philip Gulley is a Quaker minister, and one of my favorite books by him is Living the Quaker Way. This book is full of wonderful information if you have any kind of curiosity about Quakers. Also, Don Miguel Ruiz. This is The Mastery of Love, but the book I want to say is The Four Agreements. If you could follow the Four Agreements, life is so much better. I read this book when I was 15 years old, and then I've read it many times since then. A Woman's Worth by Marianne Williamson. The Legacy of Luna by Julia Butterfly Hill. I read this as a teenager, and I've had it for a long time. Anyway, she lived up in a tree, and I feel closest to God when I'm in nature or I'm in complete silence. So I love that also. Another, Simple Abundance. This really helped me when I was in my early 20s. A Day Book of Comfort and Joy. And it's just by Sarah Van Bretnach or something like that. It just reminds you of being grateful for what you have. And then, of course, Jane Goodall. I have to mention anything by Jane Goodall has had a big impact on me. Okay, Angie, Literary Labors. What do you do for a living? Oh, and Peg at the History Shelf asked me the same thing. What do you do for a living? Okay, it's not, I don't think it's exciting. So my mom and dad have a business where they make homemade cheesecakes. And my dad died in 2016, and I worked for them, but now my sister and I are a part of the business, even though my sister lives in Texas. So we have a tiny cheesecake business where cheesecakes, we make them from scratch, and they're baked, and we make all the sauces, so yeah, we have over 50 different flavors. We do not ship, and we are not we are just a tiny, tiny, tiny business. So Let's see. And then Peg also asked me, what your favorite soft drink? So 11 years ago, Peg, I gave up cigarettes and I gave up pop at the same time, or soda. So I have not smoked or drank soda, and I don't drink alcohol except for maybe on New Year's, for 11 years. So I don't know why I felt like I had to need to give up both at the same time, but it worked for me. Okay, so I know that's not a fun question, but or it's not a fun answer to a fun question. Okay, Scott and Becky from the Bookish Bryants, they asked me, so Becky asked me, who is your favorite literary character? And right now, I am going to have to say Dominic Birdsey from I Know This Much Is True. Absolutely love him. And then Scott said, would you be up to doing some mass Zoom chats with multiple booktubers in the future? And yes, I would. So in January, I'm going to practice some Zoom with my sister. And I feel like once I make sure like my laptop can do it and once I get used to it, I'm going to enjoy and just love Zooming with you guys. So yeah. And okay, it's over 26 minutes. So I'm going to stop this video and do the cat questions, or if your question also had a cat question in it. Thank you so much for all you guys out there who comment and, like, and who have subscribed to my channel. I really appreciate it. So I hope everyone has a good night, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.